Hi everyone. This is part 2 of your InDesign single page layout using a duotone. And to recap, before we place our duotone into the InDesign file, I just want to cover a couple quick points in Photoshop. First, you would have made a path as previously discussed, and you would save that path. It's path 1, and it also acts as a clipping path. Under image mode, you would have converted it to grayscale before making your duotone. So duo means 2, and you're going to use the color black with Pantone 286C. You would have clicked on this color box. You would have looked under color libraries for Pantone solid coated, and you would have chosen the number 286C. C means coated paper. Okay? You could click on the duotone curve and make slight adjustments in how light is shown so that your images aren't too dark. That is the biggest error. So I'm asking you to take the time to play with these curves a little bit. Don't make them too erratic, so that this image looks like it has a nice range of grays, so your hand doesn't look like a big dark shape. You should have a cast shadow, and you should see some roundness in your hand. Photography is light, and you can adjust your image exposure by increasing a little light so it's not too dark. But you don't want it so light that you lose detail. Okay? So you would have adjusted all this prior to starting the InDesign file. Also, the size of the image is critical. You need to size it down to around 5x7 or smaller, because your document size for InDesign is only 11x17. So make sure this is small, but not like postage stamp size. You know, it could be 4 inches by 4 inches, 3x6, 4x6, 7, 5x7 like I have here. And make sure your resolution is 300 pixels per inch. So just make sure this is saved and correct. And I'm going to quit out of Photoshop. Don't need to save that because I've already saved it. So that was just a reminder of what you should do in Photoshop. And you do have PDF instructions about making the clipping path in a couple different ways in Photoshop. All right, now we're in InDesign. And this is where we left off in part 1 tutorial. We formatted our text. Now what we're going to do on this file to finish it off are a few things. One, we're going to place our duotone into our file. Then we're going to use our color swatches to change the colors we need, because we know the headline, subhead, pull quote, and subheads are to be Pantone 286 blue. And once we bring in the duotone we built, that will show up in our color swatches. Then we'll do the text wrap. This text wrap window is under Window, Text Wrap. You definitely want that out. This is easier to work with. These are also text wrap buttons up here in your bar across the top. All right, I'm going to go to File, Place. I'm placing my image into InDesign. My folder where I'm keeping all my assets opens. Here's my InDesign native file. Here's the EPS file I saved out of Photoshop. You might have saved yours as a JPEG. That will work. And that was my MS Word doc. This ghost image that you see that will follow your InDesign file around as you're working is nothing to be alarmed about. It isn't going to save. It's not going to be there. It's just this image that as you're working in InDesign follows that native file. I'm just mentioning it because if you've seen it, you probably were wondering, well, why is that there? But once you save this and close out, this goes away. Anyway, I'm going to click on my EPS file that I need to place into my InDesign file. I'm going to say Open. I'm just going to set it right there for now. So here's my image. I'm going to go to Window, Color, Swatches. Oops, here they are. I'm pulling them in. Okay. So after I've added this photo, my Pantone color shows. And that's what I need. Now I'm just going to grab the top of that bounding box. I'm just going to set it in the middle of my document at the bottom for now. We're going to have to work with that. The reason I'm going to set it off to the side is so I can highlight text and color the text that I know I need as 286 blue. So I'm going to grab my type tool. Well, I'm going to deselect that box. See how I turned it off? Type tool. I'm going to come over here to my pull quote, highlight it, click on Pantone, click away. I made it blue. I can put my cursor in my headline, Command A, blue. I'm going to use Command plus and zoom in. I know I want my drop cap in blue. I know I want my subhead in blue. So right now I'm just formatting the few pieces of type that I know I need to be blue, and it has to be the exact blue that's in this duotone. Great. I'm going to do Command Save. I'm going to do Command minus. There's everything at a glance. Now, that's probably too small to really work, so I better zoom in a little bit. I'm going to just grab my selection tool, deselect everything, and just take a look and think, did I capture all the text that needed to be blue? And I say, yes, I did. All right. Now, this image I know is 5x7, 300 pixels per inch, and I might need to change its size a little bit here in InDesign. So before I get too far, I'm just going to drag it to this corner, because the way I've cropped and made this image is I have a straight edge on the left and a straight edge at the bottom. So kind of like my example I gave you in class, I'm going to tuck this image in that lower right hand corner. You can place your image anywhere you want. I just want you to spend time and thought playing around with it. Okay, so I placed the image. I'm going to deselect it. The reason I'm going to come here, and I just held my cursor down and selected it, and I'm going to hit Command plus. I selected this text box because I want the text to be on top of the photo. Right now, this photo is on top of the text. If I go to Object, Arrange, bring to front, and scroll, all of this text is on top of that hand because in my text wrap window, this shows no text wrap. That's fine. I just want you to see what these buttons mean and how to do the text wrap. This column of type is connected to that column of type. The minute I change anything here, things begin to change there. The other thing I need to be aware of is what kind of alignment do I have up here. I told you in class that we want to base align the text. And I have my byline preventing that. So if I click this text box, one thing I can do is use my arrow tool. And what might help me get things to align nicely, I'm going to zoom in, is to put the byline on top of the text box. Yes, this is a text box too, but this is a guideline for the text box. This is the text box where I can do my formatting. I'm just using that line to align that. Now I'm not sure what I'm going to do on this side until I really get all the text wrapped. So there are things you need to go back and forth from to do the text wraps and do the actual design. Right now all we've done is formatting. Now you're using effective white space, consciously looking how the type makes a shape, making sure the type is readable. So there's a lot of things you're doing at one time. So I have all this white space to my right where this type can flow. So what I really want to do right now is just select that type box. If I say wrap around bounding box, well, I'm going to select the box, the picture box, the bounding box. That's my bounding box. If I select wrap around bounding box, look what happened. The type jumped to the next column. See my red plus? I don't have all my type in my article showing. It just went around the bounding box. That is not my clipping path or path 1. The next option I have is wrap around object shape. Okay, well now see how there's a red line around the picture? What I need to do is come under wrap options, wrap to, I could say both right and left sides, but I'm really just wrapping around the largest area. If it works in your version of InDesign, same as clipping, great. But you might need to select Photoshop path. Remember, you made a clipping path. Now it sees my Photoshop clipping path. In Creative Cloud 2019, if I said clipping, under here, Photoshop path, where it said same as clipping, it would work. So I noticed here I needed to say path 1, Photoshop path, path 1, and there it is. I'm going to click away. And the reason I'm not going to play too much with it yet is I'm going to zoom out because I need to add the pull quote. So see, there are two things I'm using in this design to do a text wrap. Then I'm thinking, well, where do I want to put the pull quote? So the pull quote adds emphasis and meaning to the article. It acts as a graphic element, and at the same time it's a text element. I'm going to put it right on this side. I'm going to zoom in and explain. The text is still going to wrap and move. I'm still not done, but I need to establish the wrap on my pull quote text box. So I have it activated. See the anchor points around it. I'm going to select it and see how the type moved. These measurements, type above, see how I have a line right here? And if I just, so you see this gap of white space around the pull quote. Now, it was arbitrary where I placed it, but then when I look at this white space leads my eye here. It adds some emphasis there. These start to work together, this piece of type to that. I'm moving it up for a little more alignment. This shape next to that shape looks nice. I could let it breathe a little bit by just moving it over where that R, oops, I don't like that. I'm going to do Command Z. I liked it a little more even, right? So I'm looking at this flush left line. Whoops, Command Z, I clicked. My flush left, totally straight line on one side, my rag right, in and out. I might leave that there, but I don't have this resolved at all. So I'm going to zoom out. Okay, I zoomed out to check where things are. I'm thinking, ooh, that looks okay. These aren't aligned the way I would like, and this isn't resolved. So, a lot of it you're just going to have to guess and experiment, because all of you have different shapes. You can't follow what I'm doing because my photo is different than yours. One thing I can tell you that's wrong is you never have type touching the photo. You never have type touching the photo. That's right, you never have type touching the photo. So I'm going to select my image. And do you see this 0 here? I'm going to add dimension. Right? So I'm in my text wrap window. It's also up here. No, it isn't. These shapes are up there, but not the measurement. I'm looking for the measurement. And I increase some of the space, and I do like the shape it makes on the pen. Right? Let's just zoom in and see what's happening here. Okay. So as I look, I can read this sentence. I can read, ultimately come, and then I have to go up here, come up with, I don't know if I like that word there by itself, but I do start to like these shapes here. And I still have some negative space there. I want the type as best as I can to fill the space and not go below that line. I am going to click on my text box and just pull it down. So if I move things at the top and this moves down, this last sentence can base a line on that red line. All right. What I'm going to do up here is I can see, now I've already used my arrow tool to move my byline to the top of the text boxes. So that's a little cheat that's subtle and nice. I'm going to get a guideline from my rulers and I'm going to give myself a new baseline under that left-hand column first sentence. I'm going to click on this box, the right-hand side text box. I'm going to use my arrow key and I'm going to shimmy it down. Okay? So now what's happened across the top of my two columns, very neatly aligned, I could even zoom in a little bit more and double check, is these line up beautifully. Okay. Holy guacamole. I hit a home run. I still have a little space there. That's quite all right. I don't have to hit that line. I just did not want to go below that line. Now, if I look at my pull quote and I look at this baseline, well, what if I make another guideline? Remember, these don't print. They're just there for you to move through your document to get better alignment. What if I click on my pull quote and use my arrow keys on my keyboard? And what if I base align that to that? Now I know this type is always bigger than my body copy, but there's an alignment and a relationship. And I can move the box over a tiny bit to get some breathing room here. I just didn't like what it did there. So what I can do, and look here in this text wrap, if I want to keep more white space to the left of my pull quote, look for this left shape and add space. See, when I added the space, it kicked it back to make a nicer shape. I want to watch the word information. I do like it there. I know it sticks out a little, but I don't think that's bad. And I did like this relationship I had going on from the start. Now, as I really look at this and think about it, would it look a little more balanced to look at the vertical height, take the pull quote, and center it in that vertical height? Whoa, don't do that. I don't like, and I pulled it down a little bit. So in a way, and I don't have to keep this guideline, I can just use it to look at. The top of the word weather typing, I think to look at the top of the I and the F, I think that looks pretty nice. I'm just going to leave that there because again, they don't show. If, as you use guidelines, it starts to get in the way of you seeing what things really look like, you go under View, Grids and Guides, and Hide Guides. You can also go under View, Overprint Preview. I'm going to just click here. And then all the bounding boxes and text boxes go away. And you can see, before you finish up, what your final outcome is. Okay? I'm going to zoom out just a hair. You have to zoom in and out a lot. A lot of you are using little tiny laptop screens, so you got to zoom in, you got to zoom out. I need this nice big margin space. This looks right. Look at that. That looks nice. One concern I have, and I'm going to zoom in, is maybe I have the type a little too close here. And I'm not thrilled with this, but it's not really bad. I'm going to go back under Overprint Preview and uncheck that. So now I see my bounding boxes. I'm going to go back to Grids and Guides and Show Guides. I am going to click on the bounding box for my photo. I'm going to go to this measurement. I'm just moving the text wrap there so you can see it. I'm going to give it a nudge. That's a little nicer. And I still have my space here. I'm moving that around. If I add a little more space, watch this right hand edge right here. Watch what'll happen when I add more space. I can't go that far. It really messed up what I had. It messed up what was going on the left side. I've gone beyond the space I have. So if I go back, I've added some white space that if I go under View, Overprint Preview, and I go View, Grids and Guides, Hide Guides, I think that looks nice and clean. I think that's acceptable. Wow. Now if I really, really, really want to think about alignment and I come to my photo and I go back to show my guides, this little bump down here, well, how important is that in my photo? Not very. I went and grabbed a guideline from my ruler to put here. In good design, you're looking for alignment. You're always looking for relationships. You're looking for what is crucial. What do you truly need? Well, can I crop the bottom of this photo off a little bit? Oh, yeah. Now, I know I have guides that have a certain depth. You're not going to lose points if you make an intelligent decision that's only cutting off a tiny bit. The goal of this project is not to fill the depth of the columns. It's to make them as even and beautiful as possible and align the top. I'm going to go to View, Overprint Preview. I'm going to go to View, Hide Guides. I'm going to zoom out. And I think that, whoops, I went too far. Oh, I think that's way better than the example I handed you in class. I think this will be my new example. So I have a nice shape around my pen. I have good white space. I have good alignment. I had better hit save before I go further. Okay, I'm giving myself an A. And the very last thing, once I think I'm done, is I want to go to File, Export, and make a PDF. So in InDesign, it's File, Export to make a PDF. So under Format, you're going to make sure you say Print. Yes, I can make all kinds of other formats. Let's not deal with that in this assignment. We're making a PDF print, the PDF for print, not interactive. And it's going to be my last name layout. And I'm going to save it in my demo folder. I'm going to say save. When your Acrobat window opens, make sure you always save it for the most recent compatibility. And we're just going to save one page, just as a page. Under marks and bleeds, just make sure nothing's checked. Do not have anything checked. Okay? No marks, no bleeds. Don't worry about compression. Just let it do its default settings. So just keep under general, but do a quick double check. No marks, no bleeds. And then say export. And basically, we're done. Thanks, guys.